Hey, great people, thank you for joining us. This is your girl, Chidi Akunna.
And this is your G, Victor Akunna.
Hey, if you're new to our channel, Foundation for Family Affairs, please feel free to hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it so you're notified when we drop our content. And we would kindly invite you to go through our channel. We've got resources we know will benefit you, will benefit your marriage, will benefit your family. So do take advantage of the opportunity while you're here. At the Foundation for Family Affairs, our mission is to connect hearts and raise healthy families. And yes, I love what we're going to talk about today. Well, we have come your way with an interesting topic. But before then, I must say thank you to all our returning subscribers. Thanks for engaging with us as always. Yes, the topic we have for you today is 5 reasons why people thrive in some families. What that simply says is there are families you'll be in and it'll be difficult to thrive. I'll put it that way.
Yes, there's a quote we wrote some years ago. It said, relationships are like living organisms. How you nurture them determines how they grow. So what that means is that the result you see in any relationship, in any family, is based on the environment. It has a lot to do with the nature, of course, the inherent DNA, and also the environment where it grows up. So some of us are started living our best lives when we left home. So that's when you found yourself in an environment where you were actually allowed to thrive. And so the purpose of this video is to help those of us who are running families to say, you know what, how was I raised? What pattern am I repeating in my family that might be creating an atmosphere where everyone is not living their best lives? And what can I do differently so that we don't just hang on to the past experience, the traumatic experience? Oh yeah, this happened to me while I was in my family. Oh, this separation happened. This is how it's impacting me. Not holding on to that hurt. You have the right to do that, but it may not be serving your purpose now. Now you are in the driving seat. So it were of a new family. What can you do differently? What was it that your parents didn't do, or the caregivers, your primary caregiver didn't do, that you need to do differently in your own family so that you don't repeat the same cycle some years to come?
Yes, and we thought we'd zoom in on the concept of E.D.I. So in this case, equity, diversity, and inclusion. Oh, sorry, inclusion. Did I say that right?
No, you're right.
Okay. Yes, equity, diversity, and inclusion. So how all of this come together to help individuals thrive in the family.
So some people may be wondering, that's a big phrase, that's a big set of words. What exactly does it mean? All right, there are different meanings, but for the purpose of this video, we just want to break it down to have a framework that will guide us to have this conversation with each other and with you. Some of you may comment privately, and some of you may comment publicly. So we want that kind of conversation. So what exactly is equity? It's different from equality. Equality is when you give equal opportunity to everyone. So for example,
same share.
So both of us are working in a place and we are giving the same treatment, same amount of hours, the same resources. That's equality. But equity, on the other hand, is looking at the uniqueness of everybody and the uniqueness of everybody's situation to say, okay, because I came from a disadvantaged background, I might be lacking in some proficiency because of the kind of school I'm exposed to. So what support do I need to have to bring me up to a certain level? So I'm not getting what everybody's getting, I'm getting what I need. So it's going to be like a tailor-made, a bespoke resource for me based on where I am. So that's why if you're growing up take it further, if you're looking at an environment where there are many ethnic minorities, you can't just say you want to give everybody access to education. No, sometimes people start out from a lower place. So you have to provide some extra support before they even come up to the general opportunity that's available to everybody. So what exactly? So that's for equity. The other one is diversity. Diversity is when you create an environment where people's uniqueness. We say this thing that everybody's unique, everybody is different, or our fingerprints are not the same. But sometimes we have that at the back of our mind, but how we interact with each other it doesn't reflect that. We have a certain rigidity around our expectation of what a man should do, what a woman should do, how an environment should be raised. So that has to do with diversity, not recognizing the uniqueness of the person you're in a relationship with. And finally, inclusion. Sometimes you recognize the differences, but those differences do not register on the radar when decisions are being made. So, for example, my wife has very good analytical skills. And now it comes to a point where we're making important financial decisions. And I'm not even listening to our point of view. What's the point of acknowledging the diversity when that diversity does not reflect in the overall scheme of things? So that's why you see some people in an organization, you hear things like, we have a very diverse audience. We have people from Asian minor, we have people from Asian major, we have people from Russia, from Europe, from America, from Africa, from the Caribbean, represented in our organization. But when the decisions are being made, it's only being made by a certain caliber of people. The rest of the people are just numbers to have a check, right, of diversity, but their voices do not register, their voices do not count. So bringing this content, this framework, we're trying to look at it that this also plays a role in the family, because family is the smallest frame of a society, of a nation. So how is this playing a role that we might not be aware of? And that's why we're having this conversation.
When you were speaking, I wanted to say, yes, how can diversity be included?
Okay. Nice.
All right. So the first point we have today to consider is talent. All right. So we all have our talents. That's your unique, your inherent quality, aptitude, and skills. Right. So like you were saying, I have my skills. They're in there. If they're not acknowledged, of what use is that skill?
Fantastic.
So they have to be acknowledged, and that difference must reflect.
Fantastic.
It must make a difference in the family.
Fantastic.
So simply put, there are things that but we'll come to the other part, but there are things that it's just expected that, okay, I'm gifted in this area, I just take control of that and just man it. But then what we see in the family sometimes is that because you are maybe a male, there are some expectations of you that even when it seems as though your wife has better skills in those areas, you still will be pushing to show that I'm the man. And that's very sad when that happens, because we rob ourselves of so much.
So does that play out in family businesses?
Of course.
In some situation whereby you see a situation whereby the person who is into the business is female. And because the person is female, the person is married, the person is not given the responsibility. And then somebody else, just because of their gender, because he's male, is bequeathed with the responsibility that they don't have any interest whatsoever. And that's one of the reasons why sometimes, one of the key reasons, because one of my researches is on small business, one of the key reasons why small businesses don't survive or family businesses don't survive. Why? You sometimes the person who is the elder has no interest, or the male has no interest in the business whatsoever. But the person that has interest is the younger child, who is showing interest, who is driving, who is asking all the questions, who is going to negotiate. But when the opportunity comes, when the time to take action comes, the heart is handed over to somebody who doesn't, just because. So that's one of the ways where people's talent are not respected. I like the example you used, how you define talent. Natural aptitudes. So it's like putting somebody a square peg in a square hole. You know your wife is better with finances. Why are you holding on to the finances and creating all kind of mess? You know your husband is better with finances. You know, he has this way of checking how things are done. Why are you handling it? That's why you're not achieving your financial goals as fast as can, because the right person is not. It's like people who are competent in doing something. It's like a country, for example. People who are competent in running the nation are not there. And that's why they are creating all kind of chaotic in some of the third world countries, because competent people are not manning the right positions. All right. Yeah.
Okay, so what would you say then to cases, a practical scenario where people feel there are roles that are assumed to be for certain gender? So let me give an example where in the family, it's just assumed that that mechanical roles are for the man, are for the men, right? So the man is, if there's a problem with the car, the wife just expects that the man should fix it. using that as an example, then what then happens where the man has no skill? He's unable to do it. So can you speak to that?
The man and the woman is unable to do it. I like to expand it. Why? Because based on what we are talking about, if the woman, some women have technical. I watched a video yesterday or today of a lady, 17 years old lady, who's driving a massive truck of 14 feet. So the fact, there is some belief system that we've been trained, and that's why many ladies don't go into some technical discipline like engineering. You see the ratio of men to women in engineering is really, really insignificant, really quite low. In architecture, quite low. In technical professions, but you see them in teaching, high. All right. So now, because of that, so there seems to be a narrative that says that men do better in technical things. But sometimes you may have a wife that is better in some technical things. I know people in my space whose wives are the ones who are responsible for talking with the workmen, negotiating with them, doing this, doing that, doing this. They are the ones who are the technical people. And so naturally, the husband just, that role sometimes is communicated, sometimes not communicated. The person just takes the helms of affairs. Now, the issue comes when the guy is competent and the lady is also competent, and the guy just becomes a free loafer, which is not a good thing. That's why you have to have a conversation at some point to be like, you know what? I will want help in this regard, because especially if you are a lady that has a type A personality that's very active, very domineering, you might find yourself taking up many responsibilities, and your spouse will just begin to take a back seat because you have an image of how things should be done. And so anytime anybody does something, achieve the same purpose, but doesn't do it your way, you kind of discourage that by being maybe harsh with your comment. And after a while, you train your partner into not getting involved, and then you complain that everything is left for you. So it's like a vicious cycle. Yeah.
So, but we need to be stepping up.
Both parties need to step up, right. And the final thing I want to quickly point to that, so that we don't drive it too long, is a situation whereby a spouse may be hanging on to, no, even though you are technically competent, you still want the guy to do it. The question is, if you've been have this expectation and he's been disappointing you consistently, are you going to keep expecting? What is your goal? Is it that he does it or that the job gets done? If that the job gets done, then let's find a solution around it. Let's get somebody to come and do it. If that is him, you might end up keep experiencing disappointment because frustrating yourself practically.
Okay. So that's another way of working around it. As far as the job is done.
As far as the job is done, that's what we want at the end of the day.
Yeah, so I'll let you speak to the second point we have, which is opportunities.
Now, opportunity here we mean by when you create a chance for someone to make progress. All right, so sometimes in some families, people are not given the necessary opportunities. So you know that someone is gifted in a numerate way, or because you have this belief system that, in the family, this is the profession of the family. We're all lawyers, we're all doctors, we're all this. And then you notice that somebody is demonstrating a previous talent, aptitude in something. You don't give them that opportunity that will help them thrive in that. All right. So that's why some people, they say, like, you know what, by the time they wanted to pursue something else, but their parents were, for example, I know people wanted to pursue music, when I was much younger, or comedy, stand-up comedy. And people are like, no, that's a career of irresponsible people, and many of them were discouraged from that. And then, you know what, I'm going to go and study law. And then when they are done, they give the certificate to their parents. Now I want to go and do my stuff. So you don't want to create that resentment in the life of your partner not feeling supported, your children not feeling supported. You need to be able to find a way, equity, to look at what they need and create an opportunity for them to thrive. Yeah.
And sometimes we see this too, where female children complain.
Yes.
It's as though the male children in the family are given more opportunities. They're being exposed to more. It's sometimes it's very subtle, but these things matter. I was speaking with a lady the other day, and she was saying to me, her brothers had to go to private schools while they had to go to public school. for her, it didn't matter because yes, they're still doing well, but it was just the motive behind it. Why would you send the boys to a private school? So that was like presenting them to more opportunities, exposing them to a certain benefits which the girls were not privileged to be exposed to. So we see such things play out sometimes, and like you were saying earlier, sometimes these things are very cultural. You know, we just hold on to them very subtly.
In a situation where someone was raised in that kind of a family where they're not given opportunity, how do you think? What would you suggest to them on how they? Okay, in a situation whereby someone was raised in an environment where they were not given opportunity and they feel this resentment towards their parent or towards their sibling that gets better opportunity, and so maybe they're even doing better now, and those siblings are now relying on them. What do you think? What
you
would
mean
you
they're
recommend
doing better
them
than the siblings
that went to such
who had more opportunities?
How will you recommend that they deal with it?
You just keep showing up. You just keep being you. I mean, there's no need to be arrogant or want to punish your siblings for what your parents did. There's no need for that. You know, you be nice, and then I mean, it's obvious. The result speaks for itself. The thing speaks for itself. So it would be obvious to your parents by now that they made an error. You know, but you don't really need to rub it in their face and want to prove a point. Just live your life.
The reason why I brought that up is that sometimes some siblings, that thing can lead to sibling rivalry.
Yes.
And be like, you know what? Yeah, they treated you better than they treated me. And look at this. No, you don't need that. Leave the past in the past and try to create a new atmosphere, because atmosphere is very important.
Yes. Okay, so the next point we have is discipline.
Yeah.
When we talk about discipline, we by no means mean corporal punishment or domestication. No. So with discipline, we're looking at you wanting to inculcate the right values into children. Okay, the modus operandi for behavior. And I mean, in looking at it, I think it was someone who was saying it was derived from the word disciple.
Disciple.
So wanting to make disciples of your children. So, but looking at it in the context of what we're speaking about, sometimes it's as though some children are given a harsher treatment than others. You know, yes, we want them to have these values, but the way we go about them, the approach is often not right. And sometimes I would use your example. You would often say you were put in charge of your brother, who was there was just a year difference difference between you, but there was more expectation on you than, so if he did something wrong, you were held responsible for that. You know, of course, we see this a lot. I mean, it happened to a number of us in different ways. But it's just nice that we point these things out, and you know, we wake up to the fact that every child should be exposed to what they need. Okay, if a child has done wrong and you need to correct that, you correct the child, hold the child to a higher standard, and not maybe want to be harsher on one child or make one child responsible for the other. No, things like that shouldn't be happening.
Fantastic, because siblings will not live together forever. All right, so that's why you have a situation whereby some people discipline.
Like
yes, my siblings, we're not all in the same space. Everybody is married, everybody's moving on. So that formative years, that they may have missed in that way of, remember she said the word discipline is disciple, which is more like a student. You're teaching them how to be a responsible adult in the world, how to show up, how to add value. And so if you don't put that thing within them, within every one of them, even though they are from the same parents, that you need to show up, you need to be responsible for your action, you need to you need to be held accountable. And so one or two people took that lesson to heart, and you can see how they are beginning to show up in the world. And you can see some other people that feel like, you know what, whatever I do, somebody else will take the punishment for it. After a while, you might begin to notice some form of, you know, anomalies in some people's behavior, in some not being responsible, not taking up to what do you call it now, being entitled, you know, to some things. That is not really good. So again, to why we're doing this video, to create an atmosphere where everyone will thrive. So it doesn't matter whether you are the last born, whether you are the first born, everyone is taught the values of integrity. Integrity is important. So when people break integrity, you don't begin to tell the elderly one, hey, where were you? It's because of you that this person brought this rule at home.
Yes.
Tell the child, age appropriate, based on what they will understand by the time that this is wrong to pick somebody else's thing. Use every opportunity as a teaching moment, all right, to ensure that you inculcate these values, you disciple them, they are studying you, they are watching you, you will have to be intentional about this. So that's why, so that you don't have this huge disparity between the earlier children and the younger ones. That's why you see in a family of 4, you see sometimes that those ones who grew up together, they have a certain behavior. And the ones who came up much later, parents were more relaxed, they were not serious about inculcating some values. And sometimes they pick up some, and not all the time, sometimes they pick up some entitlement mindset that these other people are meant to look after them. And so some African culture, some Caribbean culture reinforce that, to be like, somebody else needs to look after you all your life. Even though you're an adult person who has a wife, who has family, you're still looking up to somebody to pay for you through life. No. If you are not related, are you not going to stand on your own? Yeah. That's the question we should always ask ourselves. If I don't have siblings, will I not survive? If your answer is no, you're not a mature adult yet. You're just an adult. I don't mean that in a harsh way. You have to take responsibility. To force to say that if you don't have anybody in your life, are you not going to survive? If you cannot survive, that's not a very good thing. Yeah, you need to retrain yourself, re-raise yourself.
Yes. Okay, so I'll let you speak to the next point, which is responsibilities.
Yeah, this also plays a role. It ties to it, actually. Sometimes you see some families, because one person cares more than others, all the responsibility goes on that person. The person is not the one carrying everybody in the family. The easier child that doesn't know how to say no is the one that they send all the chores in the house. The parents come home, why is it not? They call the easy child. They call the easy child. They call the easygoing child. Which is often sometimes around phlegmatic kind of temperament. They just, why is this not happening? Why? Because the child never complains. Because they internalize stuff. So they are being wounded. Whereas these other ones will just come and say, Mom, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And so everybody avoids those ones that are vocal, and they just focus. And sometimes it also plays out where the person that is more giving, everybody just moves in the direction of the person. So the person doesn't have a life. All their income is channeled towards one person. And these other persons, people get their own resources and they keep it for themselves. Any need, they call, it's because you are abroad. Yeah, send money. It's because you are the first. Send money. It's because you are this. Send money. No. Everybody should be. Responsibility should be distributed. Responsibility should be age appropriate. Even if the person is the last born, give them responsibilities. Sometimes you see some people that were last born because they had elder sisters ahead. They do all the chores. Nothing is given to the younger. So even though his parents are caterers, they don't know how to cook. They don't know how to do they don't have basic life skills. Because there were always help around. There were always things. That is, you have to create a system whereby if that's the only child you have, they will do well. If there are 4, 2, 3, you have to make sure that you look at every one of them, that they show up well in the world. Very, very important.
Very important. Very important. Okay, we'll take the last point very quickly, and that's communication.
Yes.
I liked it when you talked about, the children who are very outspoken, because sometimes we tend to want to shut them down. So it's like as though, some people, you're so easygoing. No, this one is so respectful. Come, I need to hear you.
Yes.
I need to hear what you have to say. And then for those ones who we think, are always standing against us, we kind of are like, no, don't speak. But we do something to them when we do that. You're shutting them down. You're capping their esteem. And you see children who used to be very vibrant begin to lose that energy, that zeal. It's not very good. We should create an atmosphere where people feel comfortable to express themselves. We may not like it. I think we were watching this interview and the child was saying the mother would take him to a prayer house, saying saying to them, "Oh, my child says what he thinks. We need to pray against it." You know, but that was actually his area of gifting. So we have to allow people flourish. We're talking about a thriving environment, why people thrive in families. We must create that enabling environment where people's personalities shine, regardless.
Sometimes the flip side is also this true, where the child who is talking, who is more vocal, is the one everybody listens to. The more quiet one, nobody considers their opinion. It doesn't make it. So that is one thing I learned from my dad.
It depends on your triggers.
It depends on the trigger. It depends on the family culture.
Yes.
Some family cultures are more favorable towards the outspoken child. Some family cultures are more focused, are more creating an enabling environment towards the more reserved children.
Yes.
All right, so they appreciate that more than this or that. So you have to make sure you create an enabling. Remember diversity. Every child temperament will be different.
Yes.
You have to create an inclusive way for everyone to feel like they belong.
Yes.
Because how your children will relate or see the family is from their own point of view. It's not what you think you are creating. It's what they see. If you ask my siblings, for example, what was your life? What was it like when you were growing up? You'd be shocked. All of them will say completely different things. And we grew up in the same household.
We all do. Yes.
I'm telling you. I learned that in a very surprising way when my dad passed and we're reflecting our experience and everybody had completely different things to say. Same environment. And I learned the lesson that we all do not see whatever my parents did through the same view lens. It's based on our own perspective, our own view, but that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
You know, so creating one thing I learned from my dad was that when there are very serious family decisions, you create this open ground where everybody will have their say. Doesn't matter whether you're an introvert, extrovert, everybody will have their say. And you can visibly see that your opinion is being mattered. Because even if you are the youngest, they will allow you to say something and they will analyze what you said. And they say whether they're going to do it or not. And they'll give you reasons. So you can see. And so that helped me to develop capability or confidence in my own ideas. Quite young. So I think that parents need to create that environment where it doesn't matter whether someone is a girl or a girl child or a male child, their opinion will be put into consideration. It doesn't matter whether they're the youngest or the oldest, because sometimes the understanding of some cultures is that if you are younger, you're stupid. Your ideas are not important. So nobody listens to it. Nobody even considers you. You don't know much. So, and they go above and beyond to prove it to you that you're nothing. But you start earning some form of money, that's when they begin to respect you. You know, so that is very important for us to create that atmosphere where everyone will feel like their voice matters. Not that we're just, they're all different. And sometimes difference is seen as a bad thing. You say, this one, she will say, no. Difference is not often celebrated in every culture. We have to celebrate. And some people over-celebrate difference. You know, whereby you will just, every time, we also need to talk about common values as well. So we need to, it's a very, I know it's not as easy as we are describing it. We are also still working through this. All right. For example, when I was going to get married, I told myself, I don't want a wife that will just be telling me, yes, my lord, yes, my lord. And I want someone who will also have a different point of view and tell me and challenge me. I don't want to have that mono way of making decisions, and because no matter how good I am, I can't see the back of my head. I need someone that will be able to see my blind spots. And so that's that's exactly what God gave me. So it's important for you to create that environment, not to see that having a powerful woman is a way of having a dissenting voice. No, it's a way of having a voice that will help you to make a better informed decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I hope with this 3 points of ours, we'll be able to convince you.
Right.
I not to confuse you.
As to why we need to enable people to thrive in families. Okay, if you're yet to subscribe to our channel, hit the subscribe button now and the bell next to it. And we will see you on the next one. Until then, feel free to leave your comments in the comment section if you have any. And feel free to share this with as many people as possible. A lot of families need this.
Yes.
Share.
Share, please.
I will see you on the next one. You take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.